Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our My Name's Doddy Foundation's webinar on our Advancing Treatment and Discovery Network Awards. We are here today to provide you with some information on both of our awards. And we'll also provide you with some hints and tips to help sharpen your application. And we welcome any questions you have throughout the webinar via our Q&A function. If we don't have time to answer them in this session, then we'll get back to you via email. And this is just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. So please just let us know if you have any trouble with that once we finished. My name's Olivia Bird. I'm a research program manager at the foundation and I lead on the Advancing Treatment Awards. I'm also joined by my colleague Anna, who you will hear from shortly about our Discovery Network. So just a brief introduction for those of you who are new to the foundation. It was launched in 2017 by the late Scottish rugby player Doddy Weir. Following his own diagnosis with MND, he just felt that there were no options available to him and this was unacceptable. So he committed his final years to raising awareness of the disease and to raising money to fund research into a cure for MND so that no one would have to face again what he did. In 2023, we launched our 5-year research strategy called Catalysing a Cure. It is available on our website and we highly recommend that you have a look through it if you're interested in applying for any of our awards at any time. So far, we have committed over £19 million to research, a figure that's only been possible with the help of our amazing supporters who do wonderful things for us. But we do know that there is still a long way to go. So we now have 4 different funding schemes available, 2 of which are open to application now, and these are the ones we're going to talk about today. So firstly, our Advancing Treatments Awards. These awards are all about investing in the treatment pipeline. We are looking for projects in the early stages of developing treatments that will slow, stop, or reverse the progression of MND. We will also consider development of treatments that will improve the symptoms of MND if they could really transform the lives of people living with this disease. You must be able to demonstrate in your application that your project aligns to at least one of the following strategic priorities, which are taken from our research strategy. So again, there is more detail in our strategy and we really recommend that you go and have a look at that. The priorities are validating therapeutic targets and accelerating new treatments. And you will be asked in your application how your project aligns to these priorities. So really do think about this carefully. So the first one is validating therapeutic targets. We've listed a few key things here that you will need to consider in your application, but please note this list is not exhaustive. So firstly, you'll definitely want to consider how you are going to demonstrate the target's relevance to MND. So using different models to show that modulating your target will result in pathway modification. Think about how you'll show target engagement, both directly and indirectly through downstream biomarkers, for example. And how can you differentiate this target from other possibilities? What makes your target preferable over the other ones? The second one is accelerating new treatments. So here you'll want to consider testing the efficacy of a new treatment, show that you can modulate a relevant pathway, that will lead to functional outcomes. Think about the safety of your new drug, include any toxicity studies, include pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic interactions, and any studies that might help to predict human dosing. And also think about clinical strategy, such as patient stratification, so we can ensure that the drug is as effective as possible if it was to move into the clinic. So for both priorities, you should really be aiming to generate different lines of evidence that show modulating your target can modify the disease pathway and lead to functional outcomes. We really encourage you to use a range of different models, but you must be able to justify why you have chosen those models in your application. That's something that the reviewers will look at very carefully. So moving on to eligibility, the lead applicant must be based in the UK, but co-applicants can be based anywhere worldwide. Reviewers have previously commented that they didn't feel an applicant gave them enough confidence that they really had the right expertise for the proposed methodology in their application. So we really encourage you to collaborate where necessary and where feasible. And so collaboration, strong collaborations across multiple groups can definitely be seen as an advantage. Early career researchers are encouraged to apply as either lead applicant or co-applicant, and these should be senior postdocs who are working towards independence. The funding available can include staff costs, and we're quite flexible here with what that could cover. So it could be PhD studentships and tuition fees, salaries for any research staff involved in the project, and it could even go towards a fellowship. We'll cover the cost of consumables and any expenses related to conferences and publications. Anything else you apply for must be pre-agreed with the foundation. So please do get in touch if you are thinking of using the grant for something that isn't covered here. We're very happy to have a chat with you about that before you submit your application. For each project, up to 500k is available for up to 5 years, but projects exceeding 300k or 3 years must include very clear go or no-go milestones. Reviewers have commented previously where projects would benefit from more milestone gating throughout the application. And the reviewers are also involved in reviewing the progress of the projects if successful. So please think really carefully when you're putting your application together. It's also really relevant for those projects which are slightly higher risk. Reviewers would really like to see a good mitigation in place to outline what you will do if things don't go to plan. And this is where really clear milestone gating can really give you an advantage in your application. So the deadline for the expression of interest for the Advancing Treatment Awards is midday on Friday, the 2nd of May. Please remember that is midday. It has caught people out in the past. Outcome letters will be sent to you by the end of June. Whether you are successful or not, you will still receive all of the reviewer feedback. If you are invited to full application, the deadline will be the 31st of July. And so the reviewers will review your full application and send comments back to you by the 19th of September. You will then have a 2-week period to send us back a rebuttal, which will be taken to the panel meeting, which will be in October, and the anticipated award decision will be in November. You are asked in your application to propose a start date. This cannot be before January 2026 because of the time it takes to contract these projects. So please be realistic with your proposed start date. We expect the research to start in the spring of 2026 and certainly no later than the summer. We do recognise that people with MND do not have time to wait, so it's really important that we can get these projects off the ground as quickly as possible. And if there's any reason that you think that your project can't start before then please just let us know ahead of time, and we're really happy to have a chat with you about that. And I'll now hand over to Anna, who will talk to you about the Discovery Network.
Thanks, Olivia. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Anna Mutil. I'm also a research program manager at the foundation, and I lead on this other big award that we have, which is called the Discovery Network, which was launched for the first time last year. And so at the moment, we are accepting expressions of interest for the second round of this award. Now, the Discovery Network sits very much at the beginning of the research pipeline. So it's very much a discovery award for basic research. And the goals of this scheme are to help us identify promising targets for MND treatments and to uncover disease mechanisms. And so everything that gets, all the work that gets done through the Discovery Network, hopefully will then get taken forward to ensure rapid translation of the findings. So we don't want anything to disappear in a drawer or in a pile of papers anywhere. We want to help our researchers keep doing the research, and anything interesting that comes out of their work, we will bring on additional partners on board and will help hopefully the team secure funding, whether through the foundation or through our partners, to ensure that the translation pipeline is robust. And that could, for example, include a follow-up project in the Advancing Treatments Award. So the structure of the Discovery Network is a bit different to standard project grants in the sense that we want you to put together a team of researchers across multiple institutions. So it's an interdisciplinary team science approach to research. You'll be joining a collaborative and transparent network of other teams, and all of the teams have to sign on to this open science commitment. And also, as I mentioned, we are bringing industry partners and external partners to the network to try and help academics do the excellent research that they do, but to apply some of the industry standards to their work to ensure this rapid translation of findings. If you can go to the next slide, Sylvia. Thanks. So, as I mentioned, the two main points of the scope are to identify targets for future treatments and to uncover disease mechanisms. And so we're very open about which area of M&D biology you are studying. You can come up to us with a new area as long as you have very robust evidence to justify that choice. So in our research strategy, we've detailed some of these potential hubs of M&D biology, like genetics, external transports, protein homeostasis, and using a range of cutting-edge techniques. Uh, our reviewers often like multiomics, the use of AI to analyze and develop pipelines for analysis, um, high resolution imaging approaches. So you're welcome to use any of these as long as you have robust evidence to justify your choices. And you'll need to specify in the application form which specific area of M&D biology you'll be working in. So just to note that we've now announced the four projects which were funded last year through the network, and there was a strong focus on TDP43 and ribonucleoprotein biology, which kind of reflects the state of the M&D field in the UK at the moment. But that does mean that for this round, TDP43 project may not be prioritized. So please, if you're working on TDP43, you can still submit your application, but think carefully about whether your approach is innovative and whether your project has the potential to bring a completely new understanding to the role of this protein in a disease or how to target it for treatments. And if you do work on TDP43, we would advise you to get in touch with us so that we can explain what that might mean for your application. So, need to know for the Discovery Network, as I mentioned, we will give funding to multi-institutional teams. So, the application needs to be led from one institution, which is the institution we'll be doing all the communicating and contracting with, but you must bring to your project at least one other separate research institutions, and most projects came with three or four groups. The lead applicant must be based in the UK, though co-applicants can be based anywhere in the world. We're actually really keen to have more and more international collaborations, so please reach out to your contacts far and wide. And again, early career researchers are encouraged to apply. Last year, most of our awardees were postdocs on the way to independence or PIs who had established their labs fairly recently, and that was really encouraging to see. Um, Eligible expenses is very similar to the Advancing Treatments Award. We don't cover overheads, which I think is quite important to know at the moment because a lot of universities are trying to get charities to add overheads to the applications. We do not cover overheads. Each team receives up to £1 million to use over 3 years. And it's important to note that to abide by these open science and collaboration principles, we ask the teams to use close to and up to 50K per year on, developing placements between the teams, organizing in-person meetings, ensuring that all the publications are open access, that data sets are shared and widely used platforms. So for all of those things need to be considered. And then what's a bit different with the Discovery Network compared to other project grants is that the teams will need to sign a collaboration agreement with all of their partners. So the collaboration agreement will need to outline ways of working between the teams. And while you don't need to have a fully signed collaboration agreement at the application stage, we want to see some sort of evidence that you have started those discussions. So, a letter of intent or a memorandum of understanding is what was done last year. And you need to be aware that you will have to work with the other teams on the network and also with our external partners. So there will be a notion of confidentiality within the network, but you will be expected to share your data and your results and your ideas openly within the network. Each team, because it's quite a big award, bringing together several research groups, will have to hire a project manager. So that's also quite different to other project grants. So the project manager will usually be a postdoc or a research assistant already embedded within the lead applicants team, and they'll be expected to dedicate about 20% of their time to managing this collaborative aspect and also to do the communication with the foundation. So the foundation will sort of be in the middle of this hub of teams as a central coordinator for all of the activities. And there will be activities. So again, it's not just you'll receive the funding and we'll leave you be to do your work. We will very much provide support and opportunities to come together, attend other webinars, training sessions, come together to give updates to the other teams. And we will design this program of activities together with you. So we hope for this to be a very interactive award, very flexible, and hopefully very useful. I think this is it. So expressions of interest, the deadline will be on the 21st of May. And again, this is at 12 p.m. midday. And then we aim to send the outcome letters by the end of June. So at this stage, the expressions of interest get reviewed by several members of our advisory board, which is our independent panel of experts specifically for the Discovery Network. And it brings together experts from the M&D field, but also other neurodegenerative areas and also people who have M&D. And the full application deadline will be on the 9th of September. And at that stage, the application will be reviewed externally by expert reviewers. And then we will share the comments with you and you'll have an opportunity to write a response. So that's, not a long document, but if there's anything that you feel the reviewers misunderstood, for example, you'll have an opportunity to clarify that before our advisory board meets in person to review all of the applications. So I should also point out that we will probably take about uh, 4 to 6 projects to the full application stage. And that's because this year we have a budget of £2 million for the Discovery Network. And so we want all your work to be worth it, really. So for you to have a good chance of getting the funding if you do get through to the full application stage. So we won't take too many through. And then we anticipate the decisions to be made in November. So all of the recommendations made by our advisory board have to then be approved by the Foundation's Board of Trustees. And just like for the Advancing Treatments Award, following contracting, all the research should start in the spring of 2026. So this was just a quick overview of the 2 grant schemes that we have open at the moment. And Olivia and I have also put together a sort of list of tips and common pitfalls that we have seen being pointed out by our reviewers at the various panel meetings for the 2 awards. So first we have some general tips. The first one, which I think is very important, is that you need to draft your lay summary with great care. And if it's not considered to be quite good enough or understandable by a lay audience, we will send it back to you for corrections after you submit it. So our lay members, who are people who have MND or who have been affected by MND, have equal voting rights in our panel meetings. So they will review your applications and they make excellent comments and remarks. So please keep that in mind. The next point is that, and I know it sounds maybe silly to say it, but it is very important that you give yourself time to craft a nicely written and well-formatted application. So use headings and bullet points. Make sure that the story that you're writing is as easy to follow as possible. Application should be enjoyable to read. For any of our awards, one of the most important points is that you have robust scientific evidence to justify your project. So make sure that you have a good quality good rationale with supporting data uploaded to explain why you're doing what you're doing. And linked to that, reviewers often comment on the lack of an appropriate risk mitigation strategy. And that can be, for any of your experimental aims, but also for the fact that often they'll say that if aim one of the project fails, then the whole of the project fails. So make sure that you have an appropriate strategy to ensure that any part of your project can bring on valuable information, even if one of the other aims doesn't quite work as well as you'd have, as well as you'd hoped. And again, it sounds silly to say it out loud, but we see it time and time again. Give yourself enough time for proofreading and polishing. Applications that are rushed always get flagged, and it put reviewers in a bad mood. And so you can have amazing science, but if it's not clearly written, people are unlikely to get what you're trying to do, and that'd be a real shame. So just make sure that everything is easy to follow and well written. So we do sometimes co-fund projects with other funders, and so we ask you to be as transparent as possible at the application stage and then throughout. So if you are applying somewhere else, please let us know. We are open to that. We'll often reach out to the other funders to discuss what an agreement with them could be. And if you do secure funding for the same project while your application is being reviewed with us, do let us know. We've had that case happen last year, where we just asked the team to slightly change their aims to make sure that they weren't going to duplicate their work and receive the money twice for the same thing, but it allowed the team to really expand on their project and make it a lot more impactful. So we're very flexible and pragmatic, but you have to be transparent with us. And now I'll hand over back to Olivia for some specific tips about the Advancing Treatments Award.
Thanks, Anna. Um, so yeah, a couple of points which are specific to our Advancing Treatment Awards. The first one is the guiding principles for drug discovery and development in ALS. So these were published by a working group and they outline the best practice for drug discovery. You can find a link to the full publication on our website, but we have also provided a smaller document that covers in more detail how you can implement these guidelines in your proposal for an Advancing Treatment Award. So we highly encourage you to have a look at those. And this is one of the things that the reviewers will be looking at quite closely as well. And then also thinking about the future translation of your work. We really want you to be considering what your commercialization plan is. Have you thought about how you will deal with any IP that is generated? We do have a lot of industry professionals on our panel, so they will really want to see that you have thought carefully about this. And we also need to be sure that this project will lead somewhere after our funding has ended. And then Anna has some tips specific for the Discovery Network as well.
Yes, so the first one is again highlighting the importance of the robustness of your rationale and of your preliminary data. So it's quite a big grant. We'll give you £1 million. So the evidence that you put forward has to match the scale of the grant, because those are comments that we've often received from reviewers, is that the projects were very exciting and interesting and ambitious. We want ambitious projects, but they were still too risky for us to give you £1 million directly without any safeguards in place. So it's happened that we've recommended the teams go back and apply for one of our smaller grants with the Catalyst Awards to de-risk their projects first and then apply again for our ATAs or Discovery Network. So the Advancing Treatments Award or the Discovery Network for another round. Again, because this is not just a project grant, you need to think carefully about the team and collaboration aspect of the project. So you have to describe clearly each co-applicant's roles and their contribution to the project, to each aim, what they'll bring to your team, but also to the network. So it's easy to see if the collaboration is just someone is providing you with samples. That's not what we mean by collaboration. We really mean that people will take an active part in doing the research and being a member of the network. And that links into the last point, which is to innovate with this open science and collaboration idea. We get quite excited when people have very fun and enthusiastic ideas about how they'll use this collaborative aspects. And so you have a lot of money per year to do that. So please use it wisely and show that you've thought about it carefully. So some positive comments that we've seen, for example, is, reviewers will have said, oh, this is a well-integrated group. It's an ambitious proposal with an interesting idea and very robust evidence to support it. So that's the type of comment that we want to hear. Another one was that an application that scored very well last year. They said, "Oh, this is a good project. It's very simple, very focused. There are two aims, and it is obvious and clear what it will do and how it will actually move the field forward." So that's what you should aim to achieve, really. And I think this brings this tips to a close.
Thanks, Anna. So hopefully you have been provided with some helpful tips for applying for one of these awards. I will just remind you that the deadline for our Advancing Treatment Awards is the 2nd of May and the Discovery Network is the 21st of May. Again, these are both midday deadlines. You can apply online through our online grant management system called FlexiGrant, and you can find a link to this on our website. If you have any questions about either of the grant schemes after this webinar has finished, you can get in touch with research@mynamesdoddy.co.uk. So we look forward to receiving your applications, and we'll just have a quick look to see if any questions have come through.
So I think there's a question for you, Olivia, from Chris Henstrich, who asked, what if the costs are over 300K due to salaries, but the project is less than 3 year long? Would you still need go no-go milestones?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We would encourage all of our applicants to build milestones into their projects. So I would still build milestones into it, but if, as you say, the cost is sort of higher mainly due to salaries, then I would just provide really strong justification for that in your application. One of the questions will be sort of after the budget section is to provide justification. So still build some milestones in where possible, but just provide really strong justification if you feel that there are places where you can't and just the cost is just higher because of the salaries. I hope that's helpful.
So we've had a couple of questions from Dave Davis about proposed MEND study. So Dave, I think this might be something that we need to discuss on a separate occasion because at the moment we have those two calls open which have very specific scopes. We do fund other areas of research. However, we are very much as a charity because that is where we identified a gap. We are very much focused mostly on preclinical research, but that doesn't mean that we don't fund clinical efforts as well, mostly in collaboration with other funders. So I think we'll get back in touch with you about this if that's okay.
And just a question from, oh, it's anonymous, but is small equipment less than 25K permitted in the funding? I'm not sure which award this is relevant to, but for the Advanced Treatment Awards, we would certainly consider that, but we would just ask you to get in touch with us beforehand to sort of check that that's okay, depending on what equipment you're actually asking for. Yeah. That's fine. I don't know, Anna, if you've got anything else to say for the Discovery Network.
Uh, no, I think we've covered most things, but again, like we've said several times, please do get in touch. Our different awards have specific scopes, and so it's a good idea usually for us to hear about your projects. That helps us get some background, which we can also feed back to our review committees as well. There's a question in here asking if the webinar recording will be circulated. Yes, we will make it available. We'll let you know where exactly. It'll probably be on our research funding opportunities on the website or on our YouTube channel, but it will be available.
We will also follow up an email with a couple of links to some of the documents we've talked about in this webinar as well. So you'll have everything available and we'll put the link to the webinar on there as well. Great, I think that's it for questions. So thank you all very much for attending today and we look forward to receiving your applications.
Thank you very much.